Okay, great. Let's see here. Get all this lined up. All right, here I am. I'm going to open the chat so we can all say hello. So feel free to type in the chat. And as you do, be sure you check that box that says all panelists and attendees. And that way we'll all get to see your comments. My screen looks very funny today. I'm trying to see if I can shrink it just a little bit. It doesn't want to do that for me. Well, it's all right. We'll just do it this way. Okay, let's see. Good morning from Ohio, says Maris. And Darlene is here. Hello. Good morning from Florida, says Mary. Hi. And from Toronto looks like Julie. Oh, okay, I'm going to have to put on the glasses, aren't I? Let me see here. And Carol's here from Virginia. Marilyn is here. Good morning, Marilyn. How are you? And let's see. Oh, I'm going to have to read the little print with my glasses. I hate doing that. Okay. Sarah's here from North Carolina. And Carol from Pittsburgh. It's a beautiful day here, isn't it? And Arlene here from Toronto. There we go. That looks better. I'm sorry about that. That looks so much better. Oh, Marilyn's doing great. Let's see. Marilyn from Minnesota and Priscilla from Pittsburgh. Woohoo! Pittsburgh is well represented today. That's fabulous. Sharon in New Jersey. Hi, Sharon. And another hello from Ohio because Mary's here. And Georgia. So Linda's here from Georgia. Pam from Illinois. Hi, Pam. Rainy North Carolina, says Carol. Oh, a rainy day. Well, we had rain yesterday. I think it's coming our way again later too. Gosh, I'm just huge in my screen. I don't know if I can deal with being quite so huge. Let me see if I can. Oh, there we go. All right. I'm just a little huger, but that's okay. Foggy in Massachusetts, says Trisha. And Susan is finally, Susan is in Vermont and she says it's finally hot. I know, if it's anything like it's been here, we went from snow to boiling. So we totally missed spring, but you know, that's okay. All right, so here we are, and we're going to get started on our warm up. This should be titled, the PDF you should have is called Warm Up Pattern Number 6. And it's a very pretty little warm up today, and we're going to get warming up on that. We are going to be talking about our little twist for this warm up. And I wanted to let you know today is last Friday in May. So June is coming. We will be doing live warm-ups on Fridays like this in June, but we have a different topic. So instead of warm-ups with a twist, we have warm-ups with a focus. And I'll be telling you about those a little bit later on, but please know I've got something else planned for you for June. So something else kind of fun to do. But let's take a look at our pattern for today. I think it is such a pretty one. You know, music is lovely, right? And so why shouldn't your warm-ups be pretty? So let's start. For this warm-up, you want to have all naturals except for the F sharp. You need an F sharp. I know the key signature also has a C sharp, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but you only need an F sharp for today. So just those F sharps. And what I'd like to do, since the key that usually has one F sharp, at least the major key, is G major, let's start with just some slow warm-ups before we get to the patterns for today. I'm going to put my right hand on the G below middle C, and we'll just do some single finger warm-ups and get started that way. All right, so just put them on. Make sure you're sitting straight, feet on the floor, your back is straight, your shoulders are down, your head is up. Take a nice breath, let it out, and let's just play some fourth fingers. Nice curved joints, nice curved fingers. Let it close into your hand. Make sure your pinky closes too, right? You can see my pinky closing, I think. There you go. All right, and let's try some thumbs for a change today. Thumbs. All the way over toward your knuckle on your second finger. Be sure that it closes, right? You want your thumb to have a nice big space so that it can move and be free. Be free, little thumb, be free. All right, And second finger. There we go. Second finger should close. Notice I'm holding on with everything else, right? On my other fingers, resting lightly, not holding on for dear life, resting lightly on the strings. Okay, and your third finger. I have everything else on. If this is too hard for you to play your third finger and have it close in toward your hand at the same time, then just take your fourth finger off. But do make sure that your third finger moves in toward your hand, not out and away. This way it should close in, right? Okay, and just maybe some four fingers all the way up and down. Just 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 3, 2, put them back on, play down, and we'll keep going. We'll go back up again. Put them on, go back up. Oops, that wasn't the most noiseless replacing. Let's keep going for a little while. Just do this, back down, back up. There we go, much better. Back down. Okay, that'll do for right hand, I think, for right now. Okay, let's do left hand. I'm going to use the very same strings for left hand. Very same strings. And once again, review my posture, sitting straight, supporting from those core muscles, right? Keep those shoulders down, keep your head up. I mean, I know you're going to look at your fingers, but that's okay. Be sure you're not all hunched over. Nice and straight and calm, and it's a beautiful day, even if it is raining where you are. All right, so some fourth fingers, that G below middle C again, right? Be sure you're closing all the way. Be sure that pinky closes too, right? Be sure your shoulders down. I was just checking mine. All right, one more. There we go. Put that back on and play some thumbs. Keep breathing. Ah, what a beautiful day, yeah. Sunny here is a little humid. Close that thumb all the way. It's that string breakage season, in case you haven't noticed. For us anyway. Broke one yesterday. That's all right. Gives me time to replace them. Second fingers. All the way in, close it towards your palm. Notice I'm holding on with everything else. Move it up on the strings a little bit so you don't get the best view with left hand, I know. But. All right, replace second finger, get third finger playing. Once again, if you have to, remove your fourth finger from this string just so your third finger can play. Can you make your third finger sound like your second finger? So that has a nice full sound. Don't work too hard. Stay relaxed. Relax the rest of you. All right. There we go. Oops. There we are. One more. And now we'll go up and down like we did with the right hand. 4, 3, 2. Put them back on. And we'll go up and down a few more times. Back up. Make your placing as clean as you can. My hand's not as shaky this morning. You can tell I'm getting used to my new weights. There we go. One more time up, and one more time down. Okay, all right. I'm warmed up enough to go, aren't you? All right, so let's take a look at this warm-up pattern number 6. Now, I suggested that you just set F sharps and not C sharps, even though there's a C sharp in the key signature. And as you look at the first part of this pattern, you can see on that second line, measure 5, this is C natural. Not my best in tune C naturals. What can I do about those? Which one is out, do you suppose? Yeah, I think it's this one. I think it's middle C. Put my pedals in flat to tune it. In this humidity, they're also a little false, so it's a little hard to tell for sure. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to be putting the air conditioning on soon, but I've put that off so far. So All right. The harps adjust as long as it doesn't get too humid. So, all right, let's look at this. I said just to do the F sharps and not the Cs. Obviously, there's a C natural, but that sort of brings up the question of what key this part of the warm up is really in. Because it looks an awful lot like D major, but then it's got a C natural. So I think you could say that it is in D major, but if you're interested in modes, this would be an exercise in Mixolydian mode. So we'll talk about modes another day, but if you are a student of modes, this would be Mixolydian, D Mixolydian. So there you go. So let's go ahead and we can just look at this piece. Do you want to, let's look at it hands together, this little pattern, and we can start with that. We'll go very slowly. Your left hand pattern you can see is pretty regular, isn't it? It's the same spacing, just on different notes. And your right hand pattern also pretty much falling right under your fingers. So let's read this through. There is a repeat sign, and we'll take the repeat once just so that we get 2 chances at it, okay? So let's go ahead and we'll read it all the way through. 1 and 2 and ready, go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Go back. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And we'll end. 1. There you go. Okay. It's a pretty little pattern, isn't it? We're going to play it one more time. And as we play, I'd like you to just think about how your fingers are working, everything closing, everything releasing from the strings, right? In the technique that I learned, we call it raising. Salcedo called it the aesthetic gesture, and that turned into raising. So that after we play and close our fingers, we release upward. Other techniques release downward. Some just go out. So you do whatever works best for your method, but you do want to, after you've closed your fingers, not instead, but after you've closed your fingers, be sure to release that sound so that it travels, right? Okay, so we'll be doing that, and we'll do that same warm-up pattern again. So as you play, this time you're looking for the correct finger action from placing to playing to releasing for all 3 stages, right? Placing your fingers cleanly, playing them fully, closing them into your palm, and then releasing the sound. All right, here we go. From the beginning, same thing with the repeat. 2 and ready, go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. And here's the repeat. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and end. Isn't it nice? It's just a pleasant, peaceful little progression. Nothing wild about it. It's just right there. All right. And now what you might do, I mean, this can serve all kinds of purposes, right? I mean, it's a lovely little, just a way to warm up your fingers without getting into a lot of detail, a lot of intricate kind of stuff. It really is truly just a warm up. All right, now last time we sort of focused on the playing, the placing, or the placing, the playing and the releasing. This time, let's see if you can make each measure a different dynamic. Now I'll leave the dynamic plan up to you. There are any number of ways to do it. What I'm going to do this time is I'm going to start piano, and then I'm going to make the second measure a mezzo piano, and the third measure a mezzo forte, and the fourth measure, a forte, and then a mezzo forte, and then go back to the piano again. So that fifth measure is going to have a big diminuendo in it. But I'm going to crescendo all the way through the first four measures and then come back and do it again on the repeat. So maybe you want to do some version of that with me, but whatever it is, think about the dynamics and the phrasing this time. 2 and whoops, there we go, squeaky foot. 2 and ready, go, piano. A nice way to work on that, to work on your dynamics and have that be a part of your playing as well. Let's do some more dynamic work, shall we? So let's take, this time we're going to play through the same thing, but we're going to play it all at an even dynamic. Absolutely no crescendo, absolutely no diminuendo. This is one of the things that allows you to know that you're in control of a piece. So let's just take a look at that right now, and we'll just play it nice and softly, nice and relaxed piano. 2 and ready, go. Repeat. Now, dynamics don't always come across really well on the internet, so you might not be hearing exactly what I'm doing. So trust what I told you I said I would do, rather than perhaps what you hear. Remember too, as you're working at dynamics that way, your left hand is an important part of that dynamic, isn't it? If your left hand, if you're expressing a crescendo, your left hand and your right hand need to do it. And that gradation needs to be there in both of those hands. And similarly, if you're keeping your dynamic the same, your left hand and right hand both have to participate. Now, there are a couple questions here, so let me take a look at those before we go on. Arlene says, can you please repeat the benefit of lifting your hand after you've played a sequence of notes? Absolutely. And, oh, good. And she says she can, and then, let me just check and make sure that I know who I'm talking to here. Oh, and then Maris says she can hear the difference. Excellent. Okay, good. Good. All right, sure. Arlene, let's talk about the benefit of raising, of releasing. And there are a few. So that after you play, well, let's think about it this way, right? Think about any kind of sport where you're hitting a ball, baseball, tennis, golf, anything, right? You always have 3 parts to that. There's the approach or the stance or the preparation, right? In golf, you would have your stance, and then you have your backswing, right? So there's all the preparation that goes into it. And then you have the actual swing, which would be like our playing. And then you have, oh, lovely. And then the D's a little false, so it sounds out of tune. And then you have your follow through, right? There's the approach, the swing, the follow, which should have a hit, I guess, if you're hitting the ball, and then the follow through. And the follow through is important in a sport like golf because it helps direct the ball. It gives energy to the ball. And you will know if you don't do a follow through, the ball doesn't go very far. So it's really important. It gives it energy. It gives it direction. You will have heard commentators, if you don't have personal experience with this, you'll have commentators talking about how the follow through to a batter's swing in baseball or a golf swing is important for directing that ball where they want it to go. So similarly, the raising is for us, it's a follow through. And so we have the placing, our preparation. We have the swing, which is our playing, right? And then we have the raise or the release, however you do it. Mine goes sort of up and out, the way I was taught. And this is the follow through. Now, in person, I know you can hear the difference. I don't know if you can hear the difference on the internet, but we'll try it. Listen to the chord without the follow through. And now listen to it with the follow through. Now, in person, I can tell you that that sound has more life and more energy. And in fact, I can I can have my eyes closed and tell whether a student is raising or not, because the sound is that different. And you will probably hear that sound be different for you as well. But the raise itself or the release has a few good and important elements to it. One is that it does add energy and life to the sound. Remember too that acoustically, we have no control over the sound. Once we've played it, we've got nothing. It's just there. And of course the sound is moving air, right? So the raise or the release helps us move more air, which does help the sound go further. It gives it that life and that energy. It gives you a chance to relax in between things, so that instead of just staying here, it gives you a chance to relax. It creates motion in your hand and arm, which can relieve any kind of tension or stress, or in a really difficult passage, any kind of lactic acid buildup. So it relaxes that as well. And then, of course, for Salcedo, it was also an aesthetic gesture, and that was what he first called it. And that was part of his work, having been such good friends and worked with dancers and mimes and choreographers. And this was part of his feeling that the harp playing should look as good as it sounds. And he had very specific ways to control that gesture. Grandgeny also had a gesture like that, but his went down in a way. He believed that your gesture should be within the sphere of the middle of the strings to the back of the harp. So the gesture is all in that element. There are lots of different schools of thought about it, but yet all the ideas are the same, that it releases the sound and it releases the tension and the energy. So with that being said, let me check in on some comments here. Where would phrase marks or breath go? Wherever you like them, Nancy. I'll come back to that question, okay? Arlene says, is the raise both the hand and the forearm? Depends on the school of thought. But yes, it should, I would say, let me do it this way and tell you that the raise is certainly the hand and the forearm. It's nothing past the elbows. Anytime you see a harpist doing this, I think that's inefficient motion. And I don't think that motion of the upper arm and elbow helps anything. I think that the hand itself, the raise itself is really a forearm gesture. It's moving from the elbow. And I think that the forearm is included in just about every technical method. I think that would be the case. And a forearm raise, that would be different from a wrist raise, which is just moving your wrist backward. And there are times that you will use that to help with articulation, a specific maybe staccato articulation, or you might use it to, when a passage is very, very fast and separate, that may happen. But in general, the raise is going to be a forearm thing. And with a little bit of wrist thrown in. Okay, the sound was extended. Yes, Linda, it's exactly right. The sound is extended when you raise, particularly, yes. Arlene says, thanks for such a complete answer. Well, you're very welcome. All right, so Nancy says, let's get back to her question. Where would the phrase marks or the breath go? There's without a particular indication, and particularly in a repetitive pattern like this, I think that there are a few different ways, and I think that the breathing or the phrasing is going to be very much up to the performer and may very well be a function of tempo. For me, when I played it with this continual dynamic, with the crescendo all the way through it, and the diminuendo back. There's no breath in there. That's one phrase. That's a single phrase. Now you could play it as groups of 2 measures, changing more or less where the right hand pattern changes. That's not how I hear it. I don't hear it in those groups. I hear it as one continual phrase. So for me, there's no particular breath mark there, except as you make the repeat. So I don't hear any breath marks in there. But there would be any number of ways to do it. At a slower tempo, you might do it every measure. That's not the way I hear it. I think it's possible. It's just not the way I hear it. So, and you're very welcome. All right, let's go on to the second pattern. The second pattern has just as much to offer as the first, not quite as mellifluous a sound, but a useful bass pattern. It's that famous Alberti bass, right? Named after that composer Alberti, who liked this pattern and apparently liked it so much that it bore his name and still does. And this pattern in the left hand shows up in right hand occasionally too. It's useful. Shows up a lot in the left hand. And the fingering is essentially going to be 3-1-2-1. There are times you might find using a 4th finger is effective and helpful for you, and that's okay too. But the pattern itself, especially in this configuration of just, 3 notes close together like that, was going to be generally 3-1-2-1. Why don't we go through that left hand pattern all by itself? All right. So left hand by itself, starting there in measure 7 on the 3rd line. 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. Next measure 1, 3, 4. Next measure 1, 2, 3. Next measure, and then let's take the repeat. Shall we go backward? There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and we'll end here. There you go. Now your goal with that kind of a left-hand pattern is to make the notes very smooth, very even, and kind of buzz-free. So do watch. It's really easy. That time I had a good time that time, but it's very easy to misplace a finger and catch your fingernail and get a real nice bzz, buzz. Or if you replace your fingers too soon, you might get finger noise that way too, and we don't really want that. So, okay, and you'll be placing just the next finger, just one at a time. You don't want too many fingers on the string at once here. So let's do that left hand one more time. Okay, left hand, 3 and ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Keep your shoulder down in case you're hunching. I just checked mine. 2. Take the repeat here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Sorry, I'm speeding up on you a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and we'll end here. There you go. All right, it's a nice pattern. This is a useful warm-up because it's very helpful to be able to do this. And just for fun, let's have the right hand play the left hand notes. Use it right in the same register. Your right hand's going to read bass clef. Oh no. Okay, but let's move that right hand down, and we'll have the right hand play that left hand line, starting in measure 7. Have the right hand do the same thing. It's good for it. Okay, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and repeat. 1, 2, Now, one of the things that's so valuable about this kind of pattern is that it gives you the chance to look at chords in a different way, right? What you don't want to be reading here, if you can help it, is be reading G and then D and then B and then D and reading one note at a time, but rather to look at all four of those notes together and say, oh yeah, it's just that plain old GBD triad. It's that plain old chord, but it's in a different order. So that the notes, you can look at that one group and see the notes and just play them in that order. That's what you want to see there. Now let me see, there's a comment here that I should, or a question that I want to address before we go back and work on this a little bit. Do you use a slight rocking motion in your left hand with that type of pattern? Asks Trisha. Sometimes. And it's not a rocking motion. It's very specific, because if your hand is doing this, let me move it up on the string a little bit. If it's doing this, it's not efficient. It's not doing a good thing. The kind of rocking motion that we will use sometimes is called oscillation. But oscillation only happens one direction. And it's to relieve pressure on your thumb so that your thumb doesn't have to work so hard. And usually it's used when the pattern is very fast. Now it might look like my hand is coming back just because I'm replacing my thumb, having moved forward, but the oscillation pattern is very specific. You close, then your thumb goes over toward the column of your harp and your wrist turns. It's like turning a doorknob. Instead of actually playing your thumb, it's this. Now I'm accenting my thumb just so you can see what happens. So it looks a little bit like I'm rocking back, but I'm only coming backward as far as I went forward. I'm not coming backward beyond my thumb. Does that make a difference? I mean, can you understand the distinction? So that I'm not playing my third finger and coming back on my thumb. I'm closing my third finger, going forward for my thumb, coming back only as far as my thumb needs to go. So it looks like a rocking motion, but it's not a two-way rocking motion. It's really just rocking forward and rocking back. With this pattern this slow, I don't use very much at all, if any. I might end up just, and especially I don't want that thumb so accented the way I'm playing it now, because it sounds like, oh, bah, 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 and I really want the third finger to be more accented. So I'm not really using my oscillation here. Because those other notes are just incidental notes, right? They're not as important as the bottom note is. The fact that they sometimes sound a little bit louder means you have to off balance it a little bit. So, okay, good. All right, Trisha, I'm glad that helps. Okay, good. So, yeah, oscillation's a tricky little thing, and you just don't have to use it here. You do have to keep the weight on your third finger in your left hand, just to be sure that that's the note that we hear. I'm using a little bit of oscillation because it feels more natural. Let's take that pattern a little bit more slowly again. Let's play it one more time by itself just to give you one more chance to experiment, and then we'll put the hands together. Okay, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, and nice and slowly here. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. Left hand feeling pretty good? Let's put some right hand with it. All right. 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3. And repeat. Whoops, that's the wrong note, sorry. did it again. I don't know why. Okay, well, having made the mistake once, I repeated the mistake just to do it. All right, so we will have to do this one again. Let me see what there is here. Linda says, only half of your left hand is showing from the thumb to the middle finger. I know. I'll play a little higher on the string so you can see it. Okay, all right, but that's all right. You should be looking at your own harp anyway, right? Okay, so here we go. So from measure 7, one more time, and we'll do both hands. I'll try to keep my left hand a little bit higher for you. Okay, 3. Let me see. I wonder if I can move, if I move it back further. It didn't help. Let's see. Oh, I'm not looking at the same screen you are, which doesn't help. There you go. That may help a little bit more. Okay, here we go then. From measure 7, all right? 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4, 1, 2 and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, I'll have to do it right next time. Gosh. I played it right that time. Good heavens. All right. Now let's talk a little bit about some dynamics that we can put with this. All right. Oh, wait, something else here. So fun. Okay, good. I'm glad it's fun. All right. That's kind of a little music boxy quality to it. It could be good up. You know, you could do something like that with it too, but that's not what we're doing today. So what we're going to do right now is put some dynamics with it. And what we're going to do is, let's see, last time we had one of those hairpins that was sort of a crescendo and diminuendo thing over it. So let's see how that would work with this as well. So I think I'm going to do the first 2 measures as a crescendo and the last 2 measures as a diminuendo. And we'll try to make that crescendo and diminuendo very, very even. I'm going to start from piano and work up to maybe only a mezzo forte and then back to piano. So let's see what we get. All right. So here we are, some dynamic workout for today. All right. It's our twist, yes? Dynamics. Okay. So let's start from piano. 3 and 4 and 1, 2. Crescendo. What I like about working on dynamics with this particular exercise is that it puts your left hand in charge of the dynamics. Remember, with the first half, we talked about the left hand contributing to the dynamics, but this one, your left hand's actually in charge of it. So let's do the left hand by itself and just look at that dynamic from that crescendo and then back down the diminuendo for the last 2 measures. All right, it's your left hand that has to do this. So let's try it. 3 and 4 and. Now move it forward as much as you need to move forward, perhaps even more. And then here's your loudest point. And we'll repeat so you get another shot at it. So piano, crescendo, crescendo more. Keep the crescendo going to that middle point. And then start to back away. Don't back away too soon. And then end. What you might find very difficult about this is making your crescendo and diminuendos evenly graded so that it's not, I mean, it's easy to make your crescendo and then you get here and you realize, oh, you're as loud as you want to go and you still have more you wanted to crescendo, right? Or that you maybe make your diminuendo too soon and you have no room left to do your diminuendo. Instead, you want something where you're in control of how much that happens and you're moving it forward, and there's here's your loud point, and then you can back away, but not too much yet. Leave enough to get back to where you started. So that's what that kind of diminuendo and crescendo dynamic practice is going to do for you. Help you really get a handle on where you are compared to where you want to go, and put all that together in a nice, even way. So now that we've done that with just one hand, let's add the right hand to it. But remember, your left hand still is in charge of the dynamics, and that's where you want your dynamic focus to be. Your right hand will have to support what your left hand is doing. All right, I know it's backward. Okay, measure 7 again, 3 and 4 and 1. Crescendo through here, and here's your loudest point. And then we'll back off, back to piano. Be sure that that last note stays in context. All right, so this is a warm-up pattern that you can use to help give each of your hands a chance at leading dynamics and making that happen. So I have some other information for you, especially about what's coming up next month, as in next week. But are there any questions that you have about this one first? So any questions about this one? Nothing. Okay, well, while you're typing, that's okay. So let me tell you about what's going on next week. So with June, we're starting another kind of warm-up. So we'll be working still on our warm-ups, but we're going to do warm-ups with a focus. And each week we're going to have the warm-up be something that will also help you with a practice technique for one of the Kaleidoscope practice focus areas. So if you've read my Kaleidoscope book, my Kaleidoscope practice book, it's that little PDF book. You can get it on my website. You can get it on Amazon Kindle. It's like, $7 or $8 or something. But that little PDF book, it actually talks about my story of how I figured out how to teach myself, which became the core of my teaching system for teaching all the rest of my students. So in the Kaleidoscope practice system, there are 5 focus areas, and these are the things that your practice has to be working on in order for, your practice has to be directed toward working on each of these 5 areas in your pieces in order for them to progress to a really polished state. And you work on these 5 focus areas all the way through. It's not like you save one for the end. There's something that you do in your practice all the time. And it's really easy to have specific techniques that help you work on these things. And those 5 focus areas are detail, expression, continuity, control, and connection. And so each Friday in June, the warm-up that I give you will also help you with a practice technique for one of those focus areas. So that's our warm-up with a focus. Now, let me tell you, you know that when you signed up for this series of warm-ups in May, you just signed up once, and we send you all the replays and we send you all the reminder emails, and that system is getting better and better. Well, the same thing needs to happen for June. So when we send you the reminder or the replay link for today's warm-up, in that email, there will also be a link for you to sign up for the June warm-ups. So if you want to participate in those June warm-ups, you will need to sign up again. The nice thing is that once you've signed up, all that stuff comes to you and you don't have to sign up again for that month, but you will need to sign up new for June. So does that make sense? And that link will be coming to you in the email afterward. Let me see. Some questions here. So what left hand fingering in the last bar before the repeat? I'm still doing 3 1 2 1. I'm doing 3 1 2 1. I did that the entire time. 3 1 2 1 is what I did. So that's it works pretty well. Stephanie, what is the traditional name of the chord in measure 5? The chord built on the flat 5? It's actually built on the flat 7, right? Maybe I read that wrong. Yeah. Okay. So it would just be called it. It's a flat 7 chord. I mean, so you would call it. It's also called a subtonic triad as opposed to a leading tone triad. It would be a subtonic, but it would be called a lowered 7th triad on a lowered 7th or a flat 7, or in this case, a natural 7. So, so that's as much as you need to, I mean, that's all the names there would be for it. And in Mixolydian mode, that's exactly what you have. In Mixolydian mode, you have a lowered scale degree 7. So that's a natural element in Mixolydian mode. So much information. Oh, that's nice. Technical review. Thank you for that. So much for June. Oh my goodness. Nancy's already thanking me for June. Okay, good. And now she gets the Alberti bass. Yeah. Simple pattern, right? Simple pattern. Oh yeah, you meant the flat 7. Absolutely. So nothing like the Neapolitan. Oh, well, Neapolitan is a flat 2. So there's also then there's the Phrygian chord, right? So yeah, no, it doesn't, I would just call it the subtonic triad. Yeah, yeah. So Neapolitans and Phrygians, and Phrygian is the flat 2. Yeah, no, I don't know that there's a special name for that. Subtonic triad. Subtonic is a special name all on its own, isn't it? So yeah, I don't think it has one of those names. Probably does, and I just don't know it. This is also possible. So, all right. Anything else for today? So remember the replay email will be going out with the link to everything. But remember, even if you were here in person, excuse me, the replay email will have the link for you to sign up for the June warm-ups. We'll also be reminding you in the newsletter, but the June warm-ups, you will need to sign up for that series as well. Okay, so there we have that. Thank you all so much for being here. Wait, oh, there's another, oh, thank you so much, Steph. Well, isn't that sweet? Okay, yes. Excellent. Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying the warm-ups and the PDFs and all that. You are very, very welcome. We will continue it at least for another month, and we'll see what happens after that. So I'm excited about doing it, and I have fun. I always look forward to seeing you on Fridays, and I look forward to seeing you next Friday with something just a little bit different. Okay, I will see you all then. Thank you so much for being here. Talk to you soon. Bye.